This is a first. You'll see that my schematic is blank. It is exactly as I received it during the Fortnite Mares event, but this is a first in that this is the very first time I've made a video on a weapon that I don't recommend simply because I've been asked so many times. Now, first off, the only reason I'm not going to recommend it is that it is locked to physical. Honestly, that's pretty much it. This would be a really great weapon if this wasn't the case. But trust me, when you get into Canny Valley and Twine and more than 50% of your zombies end up being elemental, physical's damage gets reduced by half. So you can just cut your DPS numbers in half when you're shooting elemental zombies. Because that's what happens when you shoot elemental zombies with physical. And since you can't change this element to energy or anything else, you're kind of locked. Now, it does have a very interesting perk where the enemies drop little candy drops whenever you kill them, but that's not that big of a deal because if you have going coconuts or survivalist or a campfire or adrenaline rush or a healing pad, you get the point. So as for the best perks, it's kind of a very similar conversation to my previous video on the Hemlock, where it brought up an interesting discussion. Now, I'll actually go back to a conversation I had in my Wraith video as well. It's the same conversation twice, because I want to show the Wraith considering that this is a weapon that is very similar to the Candy Corn LMG in that I don't fully recommend it, but I got asked about it enough times to where I figured I should talk about it. And this one ended up being a double crit damage build because of the way that this weapon's set up, but for the Candy Corn LMG, it's kind of a big magazine spray weapon. So what I would recommend is the typical crit build. I would also recommend not losing your weapon in the schematics because you didn't level it up. And then the only thing I'd really change is crit rating, crit damage, and then mag size or reload. This is an LMG. I would highly recommend reload. Trust me, I have played with these weapons with and without reload, with and without mag size. I've basically just, I've come to the realization that you just want reload. 100 bullets is more than enough. More than enough bullets. And if you use Light Show, he will increase your mag size by 30 bullets. But if you use something that I have found to be quite a bit better, and if I can even find him, and if you use Stars and Stripes Jonesy, he'll actually give you a 24% chance to not even fire the bullet from your magazine. This, in the end, works out to be about a 31% mag size buff. You'll save ammo in the process, and if you decide on using mag perks for this, it'll actually respect the mag size. So Light Show only buffs your base magazine. It'll always be 30 bullets. But Stars and Stripes Jonesy will take into account the 75 extra bullets from a maxed out mag perk and add those on top of it. So it'll be 31% of whatever your total ends up being. Stars and Stripes Jonesy is by far my recommended best hero to use for upping your mag size. And if you still don't believe me, I'll link a video recommended right now on shooting my LMG for over 2 minutes straight. You can't do that with Light Show, folks. So going back to our weapon here, if you want to spec it up, I would go rapid fire, crit rating, crit damage, and fire rate is because the way that this works is fire rate buffs your overall damage, including the crits that happen alongside it. Now, I mentioned the Hemlock video because I explained this a bit more in detail, but I'll go on the short end here and just say that it is best to run fire rate because your overall DPS will be better, and it smoothens out your overall DPS because more shots means more crits, and you'll hit more of them more often. You can go double crit damage on this. I have had people tell me that it's better. I've mathed it out quite a few times. Fire rates always come out on top, but if you want to go double crit damage, then that is something you can totally do. This does have a pretty low crit chance, so that is something to consider. I mean, you might even want to go double crit rating. That's never recommended, but you can do it if you so please. But honestly, that's it. That's my best recommendation, is don't use this weapon. Something like the Hacksaw, video link below, or even the Terminator, which is like the LMG counterpart. I think I have a schematic somewhere in here. I can find it while I'm talking. Either of those, I think, would be a better alternative because the Candy Corn LMG only has one thing going for it, and that's that 6th perk that drops the little gumdrops. Bit of an editor's note here. I go in pretty hard on the Candy Corn LMG in this video, but it's very fair to address to those of you who like this weapon that it's also only got one thing holding it back, and that's the physical element. That being aside, it's actually a fairly good weapon, and that 6th perk is really, really nice during combat, as much as I kind of down on it in the coming bit here. So I just wanted to kind of even this out and say that I don't hate the weapon, and I don't, no shame to anybody who enjoys using it. In fact, I someday, if I get bored enough, might end up picking it up myself. I just do believe that there are better options. And like I mentioned, there are so many ways to heal in this game on the fly that are better than it. I mentioned coconuts kind of in passing earlier, but something that they do even better is the coconuts from Crossbones Bray actually give you a damage boost at the same time. So I've never found myself having too much problem with health, and you shouldn't either. So that's it. That's my video on the candy corn LMG. I'm going to link this because I get asked it way more than I thought. If I'm not mistaken, oh, I probably am. I don't think it's in the year 2 llamas, but if it is, then go and grab it. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day. Oh wow, look at these patrons at the end of the video. Hey, thank you guys for supporting the channel every month. I really appreciate that. If you guys want to check out some other videos, you got a couple of them linked right here.